نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد رسوله النبي الأمين المكين الحليم الكريم الرؤوف الرحيم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear students and respectable audience, by the grace and blessings of Almighty Allah, we are starting from today a series of Quranic lectures, and these lectures will be followed by the lectures of Hadith afterwards. The first subject we are starting the series of lectures from is the place of prophethood, significance of prophethood and messengership in Islam. The place or status of prophethood in Islam, the esteemed and highly exalted position of prophethood in Islam. So these are various words for the caption. A question can be raised and it can disturb some minds that why the Islamic lectures series is being started from the subject of prophethood and not from Tawheed, the unity of Allah, oneness of Allah, or any other important article of Islamic faith. Why we have chosen the subject of prophethood or article of prophethood and messengership as the first topic to be discussed and emphasized on. This is a question, and it must be taken as very relevant and important. So I would like to explain the reason, and this reason will express the relevance and significance of the subject too. You know, the history of mankind and history of divine revelation and history of Allah's communication of His divine message to His creatures. That starts from creation of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, the first human being created by Almighty Allah and the first prophet raised by Almighty Allah on the earth. Holy Quran, I will like to mention here particularly two places from Quran. The first reference is from Surah Al-Baqarah. This is the first section of Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah. This is second surah, and verse number 30, whereby Almighty Allah says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالُوا أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ قَالَ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Almighty Allah has mentioned here his intention of creating Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. So Quran states, and when your Lord said to the angels, I am going to place in the earth a Khalifa. I am going to place in the earth my representative, my vicegerent. They said, would you place in it such as shall make mischief in it and shed blood, whereas we celebrate your praise and extol your holiness. He said, surely I know what you do not know. And he taught Adam all the names, then presented them to the angels. Then he said, tell me the names of those if you are right. They said, glory be to you. We have no knowledge but that which you have taught us. Surely you are the knowing, the wise. So this is the translation of the verse which I have already recited. So there are certain points to be concentrated on here. First thing is that here is the mentioning of the creation of first prophet. Although he was the first human being also, but he was the first prophet who was raised on the earth. And Almighty Allah is expressing his intention and his plans of not only creating him, but the plans, his plans and his intentions about his status, his station, his position, his spiritual office, which Almighty Allah wants to confer on him. The place which Almighty Allah wants to give him, the exalted and esteemed position which Almighty Allah wants to bless on him. So he is expressing his intentions before angels, and he has nominated that he would be my Khalif. And my Khalif means he would be my representative on the earth, he would be my vicegerent on the earth. Meaning thereby that I will speak through him, who is the representative, who is the vicegerent. I will send my commands to him, and he will communicate, and he will pass on my commandments to the mankind. The question is why Almighty Allah needs to appoint someone as his caliph, as his representative on the earth. And he never needs anything. He is beyond the needs and beyond the necessities. So why he wants to appoint someone as his caliph and representative? This is the first question. The answer is that he doesn't want to speak to the people directly. He doesn't want to reveal himself to the mankind directly. He doesn't want to reveal himself to the people. He doesn't want to speak to the people. He doesn't want to reveal his commandments directly to the human beings. He doesn't want to communicate to the men on this earth directly, except through the one whom he is going to appoint his representative, whom he is going to raise as his prophet, whom he is going to raise as his messenger, whom he is going to raise as his apostle, whom he is going to raise as his vicegerent on the earth. He just speaks to the people through him. He just reveals to the people through him. He communicates himself to the people through him. He provides his divine guidance to the people through him. So this is the only means, the prophet, the messenger. Who is the Caliph of Almighty Allah? Who has been declared as the Caliph, as vicegerent, as representative of Almighty Allah. And he is the prophet. He is the sole means of the communication of Allah's divine commandments to the people. He is the sole means of communication of Allah's pleasure to the people. He is the sole means of revelation of Almighty Allah to the people. This is the basic reason why he appointed and why he has been appointed some of the chosen people as prophets and messengers, and declaring them to be his vicegerents and his representatives and his Khalifa. This is the basic reason. And he has stated the same thing at another place in Holy Quran. Quran states, مَا كَانَ لِبَشَرٍ أَن يُكَلِّمَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا وَحْيًا أو من وراء حجاب أو يرسل رسولا فيوحي بإذنه ما كان لبشر أن يكلمه الله إلا وحيا. Almighty Allah has not given or blessed this privilege to any bashar, to any human being, to anyone among the mankind. Almighty Allah has not blessed anyone amongst the mankind with this privilege or with this ability or with this capacity and capability, so that Almighty Allah may reveal to him, so that Almighty Allah may speak to him, so that Almighty Allah may communicate himself to him. So this privilege has not been granted to anyone amongst the mankind. He just speaks with the mankind through wahi, which he reveals on his prophets, on his apostles, on his messengers. So the basic principle is that he decided from the very beginning of this world, he decided to reveal, to appoint some chosen people as his prophets and messengers, and he decided to reveal, just to reveal on them, to communicate his commandments to them, to provide his divine guidance to them, and through them the mankind should get Allah's messages. And through them, the mankind should get divine guidance. And through them, the mankind should be able to become aware of Allah's do's and don'ts and his commands and his orders. So this was the divine plan, and this is known as the system of prophethood. Now, when this intention was expressed before the angels, then they raised a question. There were some queries in their mind, so they inquired and they asked something from Almighty Allah. And you have already come to know through the translation that you are appointing a man, such a person. Now they were talking of the mankind in general, the mankind as a gender. You are appointing someone in this world as your caliph and representative who will commit mischief and who will shed the blood on this earth. Whereas we celebrate your praise and we exalt your holiness, and we are always busy in your worship, in your praise, in exalting your holiness, your greatness, your highness. So Almighty Allah said, there are many other things which I know and you don't. Now the second point, first was the appointment of someone as Allah's representative and Allah's vicegerent on this earth. And he is the Prophet. Now the second point, giving a practical answer to the questions raised by the angels. Now Almighty Allah is demonstrating, expressing and demonstrating the exalted position of the Prophet in front of the angels. He is making them aware of the exalted and esteemed status of prophethood. He is making them aware of the superiority of Prophet to the angels and other creatures of the world. He is making them aware of the Prophet's superiority. For this purpose he says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. That Almighty Allah taught Adam all the names, and the specialists of Quranic exegesis, the Mufassirin, the Aimma of Tafsir, they state that here the word Asma has been used, but it is not, this knowledge is not confined only to the knowledge of names, because the knowledge of name, just knowledge of names, is not, you can say, that much exaltation or that much esteem, is not that much basis of esteemed position, that much basis of exalted position, cannot be that much the basis of superiority, the basis of excellence, the basis of perfection of someone just by knowing the names. So they say that names means their properties, their qualities and all details, their acts, functions. The names including the functions of those things, their properties, their qualities and all relevant details. So it was a total knowledge of the things which were existent in this universe. This was knowledge in totality, knowledge in total. This was a comprehensive knowledge. This was an all-embracing knowledge. This knowledge was not only confined to the names of certain things, but this was knowledge in depth. This is what Imam Fakhruddin Razi has stated in Tafsir al-Kabir. This is what Imam Qurtubi has stated in Al-Jami' li Ahkam al-Quran. This is what Imam Khazin has stated, Imam Baghawi has stated, Imam Mazhari, Qazi Sanaullah al-Mazhari has stated, Imam Bayzawi has stated, many other Aimma of Tafsir. This is what Imam Ibn Jarir Tabari has stated. So this is just, I have quoted some of the important references. So here the superiority of the Prophet to other creations of this world, to angels and other existing creatures of the world has been mentioned through totality of knowledge. Allama Adam al-asma'a kullaha, all names, names of all things, including their knowledge of functions, their properties, their qualities. So all relevant and necessary knowledge was given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. So this was a knowledge in totality, because this knowledge was going to be made as the basis of Prophet's superiority, because this was a practical demonstration. This was an answer, in fact, in the form of a practical demonstration in reply of the angels' question. They had raised a question, and Almighty Allah is satisfying them, is providing them a demonstrative answer, is providing them a self-expressive and self-explanatory answer through a practical demonstration, an example. This is the actual answer which has been given to that question. So this is the answer that you see, Allama Adam al-asma'a kullaha. Then the same things were placed in front of the angels, and Almighty Allah asked them, you should also name these things. Can you name? They said, no. We have just that much knowledge which you have provided us. We have just that much quantum of knowledge which you had blessed on us, and we don't know more than that. So they were unable to name the things. Here lies their non-comprehension of knowledge. Their knowledge was non-comprehensive. It was not all-embracing. It was comparatively partial. That's why they say, we are unaware, we can't name these things because we have that much knowledge which you have given, and we don't know more than that. And this is the position of the knowledge of angels. And on the other hand, it is stated, Allama Adam al-asma'a kullaha, that as far as the Adam alayhi salam is concerned, he conferred the total knowledge onto him. He conferred the total knowledge of the names on him. And I have already explained that names include the properties, qualities and functions. Otherwise, just knowledge of names without knowing anything else cannot become the basis of superiority which is needed here to be demonstrated, which is going to be demonstrated here. Almighty Allah needs here a demonstration of a perfect excellence, demonstration of a perfect understandable superiority. Understandable superiority. He is demonstrating a quite unquestionable superiority. He wants to express and demonstrate a superiority of Adam, of Prophet, which should be accepted as unquestionable superiority, which should be unchallengeable superiority, which should be easily understandable superiority, which should be easily intellectually under acceptable superiority. And if this was the knowledge, it was just knowledge of names, not of the functions and properties and qualities and other relevant details. So this superiority cannot be easily accepted and without any kind of challenge cannot be easily be recognized. This again becomes a questionable superiority, whether just knowing the names can be a basis of an excellent or perfect superiority. The answer is no. Knowing just the names for what? You don't know its application, you don't know its property, you don't know its function, you don't know why this has been created for, you don't know what are its benefits, you don't know what are its other kind of interests, you don't know what are its relevant details, you know nothing except the name. So the just knowledge of name cannot be accepted as the basis of an acceptable or unchallengeable superiority. So if the knowledge has to become a demonstrative basis of unchallengeable superiority and easily understandable superiority, then the word kullaha, it indicates totality, the comprehensive nature of knowledge, all embracing nature of knowledge. So this is the total knowledge was conferred on Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, and in the form of this totality of knowledge, his superiority to other creatures, including angels, was demonstrated. And then this was accepted, recognized and realized by the angels. This was the second thing. Now the third point here which I want to take into consideration and express it to you, that was when, first of all, the status of Sayyidina Adam as a prophet was declared, and his position was made clear that he, being my prophet, he is my caliph. He is my representative and he is my vicegerent. And representative vicegerent means that his saying would be taken as my saying. His announcement and proclamation would be taken as my announcement and my proclamation. His declaration should be taken as my declaration. His prohibition should be taken as my prohibition. His command should be taken as my command. The guidance which he will provide to you should be taken as guidance which I have revealed. His guidance is my guidance. So this was in fact a message which was communicated to the angels through the title of Caliph. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. He is my vicegerent. And obedience rendered to him would be taken as obedience rendered to me, because he is my vicegerent. And submission to him would be taken as submission to me. I have mentioned the references. You can just have it is narrated. Imam Khazin has narrated the saying of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, a very famous companion of Holy Prophet. He stated that the knowledge given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam in the form of Allama Adam al-Asma'a kullaha, that was so extensive and comprehensive knowledge that it was up to the extent of the cups and glasses also. Even the minor things in this world, they were also, knowledge of those things were also given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. This is Imam Khazin has narrated under this Quranic verse. Then Imam Ibn Jarir Tabari has again quoted the saying of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas, and he says that the knowledge given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, that all those names even which we know now, today, even these names and this knowledge was given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam at that time. Again Imam Qurtubi, this was Ibn Jarir Tabari, Tafsir Tabari, under this particular verse which we have already. Then Imam Qurtubi, he has also quoted the saying of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, and saying of Akrama, and saying of statement of Qatada, and statement of Mujahid, and statement of Ibn Jubair. All these tabi'een, companions of companions. This Almighty Allah taught all names, even any major and any minor thing existing in this universe, its knowledge was given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. And then Imam Baghawi in Tafsir al-Baghawi, he says even this knowledge was extended up to the events, not only the names, up to the events which had already occurred before his creation, and which was going to occur and take place up to the day of judgment. All events, knowledge of all the events and happenings and occurrences was also given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. This is what Imam Baghawi says in Ma'alim al-Tanzil. The easy word is Tafsir Baghawi. Verse number is same, no need of further mentioning the page number, just you take this verse out and you will find. And Imam Abu Saud al-Imadi, he writes in Tafsir Abi Saud, Abi Saud, the same. He said, whatever had occurred up to that time, and whatever was going to take place, and whatever was going to happen till the day of judgment, the knowledge of whole sum of knowledge was given to Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. This was not only the knowledge of few names. Then Imam Shawkani, a great mufassir, and normally highly accepted to the Salafi people, Imam Shawkani, they pay very high regards to Imam Shawkani, the Salafi people. He writes in his Tafsir, Fathul Qadir, Tafsir Fathul Qadir. This is Tafsir of Imam Shawkani. He says the word kullaha, it extends to that kind of totality, whatever had taken place and whatever was going to occur and happen in this universe, in this world. He said everything and each and every event was included in the scope of this kullaha. Now the third very important thing here is that after mentioning the exalted position and status of the Prophet as Allah's vicegerent and representative. Number two, after demonstrating practically the basis of his superiority to all others through totality of knowledge, all embracing and comprehensive knowledge of the universe. Two things. And the third aspect that needs special concentration is after that Almighty Allah commanded the angels now to pay respect, honor, esteem and reverence to the Prophet. And He commanded them, to angels, to prostrate before Adam alayhi salam. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ. And when we said to the angels, prostrate in front of Adam, and make obeisance to Adam, they did obedience. فَسَجَدُوا. They paid their respect. They paid their reverence. They expressed their esteem and exaltation for Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam in the form of prostration. This prostration was not for worship. This was just for ta'zeem and takreem. This prostration was for exaltation, for showing the esteem, for respect, for showing honor and for showing reverence. So this was the prostration of respect and reverence, not prostration of worship. Before the raising of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before our Sharia, the prostration for respect and reverence was permissible. In the days of early prophets, it was permissible. Right from the beginning till the raising of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was permissible. In Sharia of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was banned and prohibited. Prostration, sujood, sajda for worship, sajda to ta'abbud, sajda for ibadah, prostration for worship and ibadah, it was never permitted, never, because this would amount to shirk. If sajda is done and prostration is done for anyone other than Almighty Allah, for ibadah and worship, this will amount to shirk. And any act of shirk was never allowed and permitted in any time. So it is very clear and obvious that here, usjudu li Adam, prostrate in front of Adam. This was in fact, this prostration was just for showing their respect, their esteem. This was for exaltation. This was for His glorification. This was for His honor, in His respect, in His reverence. So this was sajdatul ta'zeem and not sajdatul ta'abbud or sajdatul ibadah. No, it was sajda tut ta'zim, sajda for reverence and respect. So this is the point, that Almighty Allah has declared and expressed His intention of creating someone and appointing him as His vicegerent and His representative on the earth by raising him as His prophet. And then He is showing and expressing and demonstrating His superiority over the angels and all other creatures in this world through the totality of knowledge, the globality of knowledge, the comprehensive universal knowledge which He has granted and conferred on Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, His prophet. So his superiority through totality of knowledge. And third, when He established this fact practically, and when He made this superiority acceptable, understandable, and acceptable to the angels, and when He made this thing clear to them, and they accepted, qalu subhanaka, they accepted the reality that He is the superior one. He is superior to us. And He is the only one who deserves your vicegerency. He is the one who deserves your representativeness, being your representative. So we accept His superiority and we bow and bend before Him. When He established this fact, then He made the commandment. And now the main point which I want to give in the end of this lecture was the first commandment. This is the, you can say, crux, the main point where I wanted to bring your mind. The first commandment given by Almighty Allah to His creature on this earth, the first commandment revealed by Almighty Allah, the first order passed by Almighty Allah, the first degree passed by Almighty Allah, the first divinely revealed command given to the creature, to the angels on this earth after creation of mankind, the first Allah's command was not in respect of the Aqidah of Tahir, that was in respect of the Aqidah of Risala. The first commandment which Almighty Allah revealed unto them, which was communicated to the angels, was pay respect and honor and reverence to my prophet. This was the first commandment. This was not the first commandment, worship me, become my true servant, become sincere in my worship. This was not the commandment in connection of His Tawheed. The first commandment which Almighty Allah revealed on this earth, after the creation of first man, after the creation of first prophet, after when He commenced the beginning of the life on the earth, the first commandment which He revealed to His angels was pay respect to my prophet. Pay your exalted reverence to my prophet. Pay your respect and honor to my prophet. Bow and bend before my prophet. Show your respect to him. Become his obedient. Become his submissive. And bend down in the form of prostration to show that this is my prophet who deserves all kinds of respects, honors and gratifications. This is the reason I am starting my series of lecture from the subject of significance of prophethood, because Almighty Allah started His divine commandment and series of divine guidance and divine commandments in this universe from the commandment, from the order of paying the respect to prophet. His first commandment was regard the status of prophet. His first order was regard the exalted position of the prophet. So the first commandment which He communicated to the angels was correction of the concept of prophethood and its exalted position and its esteemed position and the level of respect and honor and reverence required for him. There was no bigger level than prostration at that time. The highest level of showing respect was prostration, was sajda. Sajda to ta'zim, the highest level of respect. And that was asked and ordered by Almighty Allah to the angels to do that. Which means that anyone who wants to understand the Islamic teachings and the true faith and belief of Islam, this is only possible if he starts the whole sum of the teachings and the discussions and his belief and faith from the basic point of the exalted, and to understand, by understanding the exalted and esteemed position of the Prophet in Islam. So we end today's talk on here, inshallah ta'ala, and then we will start the same subject in our next episode. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.
طلع البدر علينا